Hello, thank you for tuning into episode 1 of the Record Store podcast brought to you by the Chatterbox. Today we're going to be discussing the new Sufjan Stevens album, The Ascension, and the new Joji album, Nectar, as we mentioned in the episode 0.
Yeah, I think we're going to start off by going the Ascension first and then going into Nectar after that. I have a few quick, tidbits about The Ascension. The Ascension is the 8th full-length studio album by Sufjan Stevens, who is a well-known singer-songwriter, folk musician. This is actually his first album since Carrie and Lowell in 2015. He's done a few collaborative efforts with, he did one with Lowell Brams called Aporia and one with Bryce Dessner of The National called Planetarium. But this is his comeback to solo material, and it's different. It's not his usual sound.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a bit more about that? Because I know you have some thoughts on this, and I do too, but yeah.
Yeah. So if I had to compare this album to anything in his discography, it would probably be The Age of Gods. I mean, he's clearly trying to go back to that, or a similar sound to that, at least. And I don't know. I'm personally not a big fan of The Age of Gods, so I was not really looking for this album to go back in that direction. Although I will say, I think that this album does a lot of things better than Age of Odds, personally.
Yeah, I can see where, you're coming from when you say that. I looked it up, and more of the reason why he went back to electronics for this, he did an interview with Al Horner for The Guardian, and he was talking about he was moving from the Catskills, so he had to pack all of his guitars and his banjos and stuff away, and he says, quote, "That's why the nature of this record is so simple. I could only use things I could plug into my computer. My mind was not really in the folk idiom anymore. I'd packed my guitars in the storage, and I think mentally I packed that aesthetic away too," which is kind of interesting because, I don't know many people who, some artists set out to make a record sound different, but with this, it kind of sounds like this was the only way that he could see it being, written with his resources. Like, he didn't give himself limited resources. He really just had limited resources, which is an interesting way to listen to it now that if you go back.
I read something similar to that on, I think it was Pitchfork's review of it. Or they quoted that interview. I can't really remember, but
I think I read that same article too. I think that something like that, or they did an interview with him. But that's it's interesting. I didn't know that, and I think going into this record with very little prior knowledge of either Sufjan or that situation, it's definitely going to be a different experience versus knowing who he is and what he's done. So why don't you, if you want to talk a little bit about his previous discography, because we're both, I was raised on Michigan and Illinois and some of those more folky albums, but if you want to go into a bit more depth with that, you can.
Yeah. So you said that you've been raised on Sufjan. Honestly, I didn't get into Sufjan until more recently. So this is the first Sufjan full-length album cycle that I've been through.
This was the first one you were paying attention to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gotta be. Oh, well. No, yeah. I mean, some of my earliest music memories were the Illinois album or being played, and that instrumentation, or he's known for guitars and banjos in a more folky way, but he's always had, I think even in the beginning of his career, these elaborate concepts and these super long almost convoluted songs, but he always manages to do them without being pretentious.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
And
Illinois is like, when I first listened to that album, I hated it. I'm not even gonna
really,
lie. I hated Illinois when it first came out. Or not when it first came out, but like when I first listened to it. Because there was just so much there. And like it's was hard for me to like, it's a very elaborate album, and I just don't think I was mentally prepared for that when I first listened to it.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like The Wall, where it's not for casual listening.
Yeah. But it's still a great album though. Like after revisiting it a few times, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand this, and it was pretty mind-blowing when I started to actually, get into the mindset that I should have been in the first place with that. But yeah, this album, this new album, The Ascension, it's definitely elaborate. Like,
it's a full 80 minutes. It's
for sure, yeah.
All that you could fit into one CD disc it's on here.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's not uncommon for any of Sufjan's albums, but well, how about for people that haven't or that aren't familiar with Sufjan, or the difference between, we just mentioned The Age of Odds and Illinois. What's the difference between those two?
Okay, so Illinois and Carrie and Lowell, they're very much folk rock, and I think that's kind of what Sufjan's known for. Whereas Age of Odds and The Ascension, they're more electro pop, experimental, very, very textured electronic music. So
yeah, and I think personally you might agree, but if you go through, no matter what instrumentation he's using, it's always very detailed.
Oh yes.
Like, you can listen to it and pick up on things for like 20 times. For
sure.
And you can notice things that you haven't. I don't know if anyone has that time to listen to the Sufjan Stevens album 20 times in a row. But he's very detail oriented, and it all sounds very it's very planned out and deliberate, and I think that can work to his advantage and also sometimes in his disadvantage. I guess that leads into talking about the album finally. Do you want to give some of your thoughts first, and we can go a bit more in depth?
Yeah. So you mentioned listening to The Ascension 20 times, and I wouldn't want to do that, not only because it's like an hour and a half, but like because it's like the album is such a slog to me. It's so I don't know. How do I put this? So the album definitely has high points.
Oh, totally.
Okay? Yeah. Die Happy. That's a great song. I actually love that song. It's a very haunting song. But I think a big problem with this album is it's very in terms of like lyrics, a lot of the songs on here are very repetitive.
Yeah, and I think that to me was a bigger departure from his previous stuff than music, because some of these songs are, America is 12 minutes long, and I think for over half of it there's no lyrics.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he's no stranger to making just instrumentals, but that's the whole album.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I keep going back to Illinois, but in my head that's, his best album.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely up there. Like, for sure. It's one of his best, at least.
Yeah. But, with a lot of those songs, I think that's like 20 something songs on that record, because the instrumentals are either really short or they're separate from the other songs. With this, if you skip one song, you skip half of the album, and it's it just feels it's a lot harder to consume, and and that's not to say that it's totally worth skipping. It's just it's a lot harder to get a hold of, and I think a lot of that comes down to its length, but also it's, like you said, it's very repetitive. And yeah, what did you think of the production on this thing? Because that was, I have thoughts on this. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
okay. So the production. So once I accepted that this is gonna sound, it's going for a similar sound to the Age of Odds, I really enjoyed the very layered instrumentals on it. The drums on a lot of these songs are really impressive, to me anyway. But the production as a whole, I think a good example of production on here that's just not good at all is I think it's "Tell Me You Love Me" at the very end, where there's just those like tubas that just did not need to be there at all. That was so bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm all for throwing in random elements if it fits the aesthetic.
For sure.
I don't think, you know, if it's supposed to be more electronic and a more polished sense, it kind of feels off. And you know, you mentioned Die Happy being a really haunting song, and that has a lot of layered instrumentals and a lot of weird parts. But in Tell Me You Love Me, it just feels off the way it's connected to the song. It doesn't give that same message. This might be controversial, but I'm gonna compare this to Kid A by Radiohead. Let the record show I don't like Radiohead that much. I don't know how many times I've sat down to listen to OK Computer and just been like, I don't understand. But with Kid A, it was such a departure from like the music in an instrumental sense, because it was, you know, a lot of electronics and stuff like that. But I will say Kid A sounds a whole lot more put together, but it also sounds a lot more it's rough around the edges too. And it works with what they're trying to establish, and I think that's just not in Sufjan Stevens. It's not in his wheelhouse to make a Kid A, because even with Age of Odds, it was so fine-tuned, and you know, just in that one song, the tubas, it's not like him to leave in something like that.
Sure.
And I'm all for a reinvention if it's done well. And I don't think that part specifically was done all that well.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So moving like to a different topic, the themes of this album, they're very bleak, like outlooks on life. I thought, maybe this is just me, but I don't know that this kind of production fits that theme very well. Maybe that's stupid, but I feel like it would, if you're gonna do that, maybe it makes more sense to go for a bit more folky thing, because I feel like that makes it a bit more personal. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, no, you're right. I think it's a bold choice, you know. And if I go back to Karen Lowell, which, you know, that's an extremely personal album. It's got his parents on the cover even.
For sure.
And that was his last folky project, at least that we've gotten
so far
in his discography. Yeah. And that it's so dark and it's so sad, and it fits so well. And that what you described as being haunting, it's that whole album is like that, but it's added to it because it's so stripped down, and like every note is it's dark, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That is all as I can describe it. But yeah, I think again, if you do it well, it's not a problem. And I think on occasion he does it really well. I think the title track on this album is one of the best songs he's ever written.
For sure. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up later, but yeah, no, that's a really great. That's a very well written song.
Yeah, and it sounds more electronic. I think he has even some autotune on his voice, and it works in that context. In what he's singing about, it absolutely works. Which is why songs like what's the one? Video Game.
Oh yeah.
It's an okay song, but it feels so out of place. Because the message that he says he's singing about just doesn't really come through. And especially with someone like him, where every album has a concept to it, it's kind of disconcerting, but yeah, what do you think about either one of those songs? Because I think those are both, he released Video Game as
a single, right?
I think the 3 singles were America, Video Game, and Sugar, I think, in that order.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about those choices as the marketing points for this album too?
I don't know. Because those, in my opinion, those were like low points on the album for me, at least in my opinion. And I feel like there are just there are better songs on this album that like bring the point across of like the themes of this album that are, I don't know. Yeah.
It just now occurred to me that, he might have been doing it so that people could know it's going to sound different, because those songs do sound the most different.
Yeah, you're right.
I think not even in terms of instrumental, like Sugar, if someone else was singing that, I would not be able to tell that that's a Sufjan Stevens song. Whereas if someone sings a song like The Ascension, I could still probably guess who wrote it.
For sure. Yeah. You're right. I basically agree entirely. I don't really have anything else to add on that.
We've been kind of bashing it. But before we move on, what would you say? What are some good parts of this album for people that do still want to give it a listen?
Yeah. Obviously, Die Happy, I think, was really solid. Let's see here. I thought obviously the title track, we mentioned that one's really good. Death Star is kind of odd. I really like the production on that track. It kind of reminds me of like an 80s horror movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that track quite a bit. Landslide is really good. In my opinion, anyway.
I will say, on a more constructive side, I think, one of Sufjan's greatest strengths are the lyrics that he writes and his use of words. And the lyrics on this album are not terrible, but sometimes they're buried in the mix so much you really can't understand what he's saying, which does kind of deplete some of the value. Like, that was my only criticism on Landslide, was sometimes you really couldn't understand what he was saying.
That's I'll give you that. That's true.
Yeah, and same for Gilgamesh, which I did not like that song.
Gilgamesh is really bad. I that's one that I put in my notes for very low lows. Because something that I said was it's an album with some high highs and low lows, and Gilgamesh is one that I said was a low low of the album. What are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, it's halfway through the album. I'm already tired listening to it, and then I get Gilgamesh, and then his voice is just buried in the mix, and it just sounds like I hate this as my conclusion, but it sounds like an Imagine Dragons song.
It kind of does. You're
Like,
right.
if you were, like, I can hear that he's saying something, but when I can't understand what he's saying, it's just like, take out the vocals, and it's radioactive. That's what that song
This is true.
Which, I mean, you know, again, artists can reinvent themselves however many times they want if they can do it well.
And that's
David Bowie. But
sorry to interrupt, but like that's something that Sufjan, I feel like, has done well with in the past, is kind of reconstructing his sound.
Oh, totally. And then still being able to go back to his roots afterwards. Yeah. Because Carrie and Lowell came out after Age of Odds. And that, I think, that was an album that made it onto, I think, Rolling Stone's like top albums of the decade. I think in the top 10. What?
Or Carrie and Lowell or Age of Odds?
Carrie and Lowell.
Okay, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, I think it's not for casual listening, but I'll go back to it. I can see myself going back to it and appreciating it more.
Yeah. That's basically what I was going to say, is it's like, it's definitely a slog to just sit down and listen to. Like, I just found myself getting bored sitting down and listening to it.
So you would say that the Ascension does not ascend? I've been sitting on that all day.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I do say that the Ascension will not ascend. And he was clearly trying to make this album a focal point in his career, right? But it doesn't feel like it to me anyway, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe it's just because we're so young, and some of these, like, the things that he's talking about are very...
Oh, yes, they're very...
X, and, you know, some of the things he's talking about, like not wanting to be on your phone and stuff like that, might make us roll our eyes. But it's definitely for an audience, and I think the audience that likes it really likes it, and the audience that doesn't really doesn't. And I think in between that, there's just people that sort of have to keep going back to it, and then maybe they'll find something that they liked that they didn't know that they liked before. Yeah,
I will definitely be returning to this one. I'm hoping that it continues to grow on me, because first time listening to it, I didn't like it at all. But after listening to it like multiple times, it began to grow on me, and I'm hoping that it continues to do that after even more listens. So yeah, I'd say definitely give it a shot. Yeah.
Just clear your schedule. Clear your evening schedule.
Oh yes, for sure. It takes. This is it's not only a long album, but it's also an album that deserves, or that needs, a lot of your attention to really get much out of it.
Yeah.
You can't you could, but it's hard to put this album on in the background and get much out of it. You really just have to sit down.
It's not party music.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a good segue into the next album, if we have nothing more to add about the Ascension.
Yeah, no, I think it is about time that we move on to Joji's Nectar, which, yes, that is a good segue into this album. Do you have any background on this?
Yeah, so these two albums, I think I mentioned, they were released on the same day. Nectar is Joji's real name, George Miller, his second full-length studio LP, following Ballads 1, which was released in 2018. It was one of the albums that was going to be released during the summer, but because of COVID, it was pushed back to September. It had 3 singles that came off of it. I think the first one was released like a year before, Sanctuary, followed by Run, followed by Gimme Love, and then there was a 4th single with Diplo, Daylight.
Yeah.
So there's been some steady anticipation for this one, and then it came out, and people had opinions on it. Like,
this is true. This is true. Okay. So I've been listening to Joji for a long time. Like, not like a long time, but like since he's been putting out music, or even before with
Pink Guy.
Yeah, Pink Guy, Filthy Frank, all that. Which I don't want to get into right now, but because that's a whole other discussion. But yeah. And going into this thing, I felt like, so since his debut EP in Tongues, I feel like he's definitely made improvements. He's been steadily improving since then, with Ballads 1, which I thought was okay. It was a pretty solid album. But here I was really looking for a change in sound and an evolution, because his lo-fi aesthetic was getting kind of old, honestly. And when the singles that Owen mentioned started coming out, I got really excited because this was the change that I was looking for. We were getting definitely higher budget sounding production, and it sounded like Joji's vocals had definitely improved, which was something that I feel needed to happen. And after listening to it, I'm kind of mixed on it, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I discovered Joji's music, I think around the time Sanctuary came out. I'm not the biggest fan of, modern music or like pop music or stuff like that, and that's not really what, once I did a closer deep dive, that's not really what Joji was about. But Sanctuary it's a pop song. It's got that spacey feel to it, and it's very echoey, very clear vocals and stuff, and it's a good song. He's once I did my research, I agree, he's improved vocally, and sonically he's definitely, like you said, he's gotten a bigger budget and more producers. If you go to the song credits on Ballads 1, for most of them, I think most of them except for Slow Dancing in the Dark, which is the song that everybody knows, he produced them mostly himself.
Yeah.
Whereas versus with this, you've got like, I think I counted maybe 7 writers on the opening track.
Yeah.
Where it's, he's been given a lot more resources, and it's been interesting to see what he does with those. This is a much shorter album. It's 18 songs, but I think it's under an hour.
It's like, I think it's like 50, maybe like 50, or something like that.
Which is not bad, especially
53.
Okay, yeah. Which, let me be clear, having a long album is not a bad thing. It's just,
it's what you do with that time.
Yeah. And you said you had mixed feelings about this. So what do you think Joji did with this time?
Okay, so I think that there are some really solid tracks that sound really good. All the singles I thought sounded really good.
Run is his best song. It's better than Slow Dancing in the Dark.
For sure. I'll agree with you on that. But for a lot of it, Honestly, especially in the second half, there's a lot of filler here, in my opinion, at least. Or maybe not necessarily filler, but songs that don't really sound like there's not a lot of variety, I guess.
A lot of songs under 2 minutes, more like interludes.
Yeah. And
I get that. Yeah.
And a lot of them are just trap beat, pretty basic trap beat, really, with these like somber instrumental or like piano or whatever it is in the background, and then he's just singing about how he was in love, and then now his heart was broken, and that's just how it is. I don't know.
I definitely get what you're saying. I think, especially having those core 3 singles back to back in the 6, 7, and 8 slot, you're left with a lot of uncertainty as to what the rest of it's going to sound like. And immediately after Sanctuary, you get what I know you put down as a song that you didn't really like, which is High Hopes.
This is one of, at least in my opinion, one of Joji's, if not Joji's worst song.
Really?
Maybe that's like unpopular, but like I don't like this song. Omar Apollo adds nothing to this track. It just sounds, it's like the guitars are just really, I get what they're trying to do, but it just, the song is called High Hopes. This song, you'd think that a song about called High Hopes would have at least any energy at all. This song has no energy behind it.
That's true. I think now that you say that, it is one of the more sluggish songs in terms of emotion, especially since his vocals have gotten so much more bigger and expressive and stuff like that, and that's really worked, which is why Daylight and Run and Gimme Love are really, really good songs, because he's put that emotion. And I think I agree that, and then the feature really doesn't add anything. I will say though about the features, they're not all bad. Pretty Boy with that's a great song.
We'll get there. Don't worry about it. We'll get there.
So are we just going like track by track here? I think
from here on, maybe we cover the second half like track by track, because this is when it gets
iffy. Yeah. This is when it gets a bit more iffy for you.
Then High Hopes, I didn't like High Hopes, but like if it was followed by like a really good track next, that would be fine. It would be a bit more excusable. But Nitrous is like Joji's song.
Yeah, this was when I started opening IMDb and started looking at movie box office, just because I stopped paying attention during this song.
Nitrous, it's so boring, and it's another example where there's just no energy in Joji's vocals at all. Here it feels like and he's just mumbling his way through the track. It sounds like to me. I had to like look up the lyrics to like pick out any words that he's saying.
It feels like, it definitely feels like a downgrade. It feels more like a Ballads 1, second half track than what has been presented.
Yeah, and there's like that's even like further proven by, isn't this track, do you have like production credits? Like
I do. Yeah.
Isn't this track produced by Clams Casino?
It is.
Which he did Can't Get Over You. And this song sounds like Can't Get Over You, Part 2.
Can't Get Over You sounds like it was recorded through a toilet paper tube.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good song.
I like Can't Get It Over You.
It's not super long, but it does what it is trying to do.
Yeah.
It's upbeat, which this is not.
Yes, this is true. And I think that even that track is added to, I think like Thundercat does like bass on that track.
He does?
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like I feel like he does. But yeah, this song just sounds like a downgraded version of Can't Get Over You. It sounds like the demo version of Can't Get Over You.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, not every song can have super heightened emotions, but like, again, it comes down to what we were talking about with the Ascension. Like, if you can do it well, you know, it's okay. But with this one, it just kind of seemed, especially with the fact that the title is in all caps, which was something that they did on Ballads 1. It feels like it should be on Ballads 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this track was originally going to be on Ballads 1. I mean, it just sounds like right off of that song, or right off of that album.
And I mean, it's not bad. It's just it doesn't fit. Which, I mean, this whole album, I think they updated his Spotify bio, I think, when the album released or before the album released, and they sort of described him or this album as living in the space between genres, which I really like that description. I think it's accurate.
Oh yeah, for sure, because there's a lot covered here, and
there's a lot, and then you can't really place it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's not really pop, it's not really rock, it's not really dance.
Yeah, you're right. And it's not really R&B. It's not really. I guess there's like hip hop elements on it too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of hip-hop, actually, these next few songs are the ones you notice through the first half. There's only one feature, and it's Diplo on Daylight. The rest is Joji, and I think those are the highlights primarily of the album, the ones that are just him. But I think now will be the segue to talk about Pretty Boy.
Yeah, and you know, looking back at the track list, I say that I don't like the second half. That's not true. It's just I feel like the second half doesn't have nearly as much variety as the first half does.
That's a really good point. It becomes
and I don't think a lot of the budget for this album went toward the second half. Or at least it doesn't feel like it to me. I don't know, because like with songs like Give Me Love, you have like these string sections at the end, or like I don't know, maybe.
And the guitar solo in Run is amazing. But yeah, no, I totally get that. I think it falls into a lull where it sort of goes back into those lo-fi roots that I didn't necessarily have a problem with. It's just personally, I can't listen to too much of it without getting bored.
Yeah, it's kind of like surf rock for me, or like current like surf rock where everyone trying to sound like Mac DeMarco. I can't listen. It's not bad. It's just there's so much of it and it all sounds the same to me.
That's me with a lot of early 2000s rock, like Green Day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, I like Weezer, but that's only because they're nerds and they do have variety. Green Day that's a topic for another day. Let's talk about
Pretty Boy now.
This song is the most unlikely one that I keep finding myself pressing play on. It's really catchy.
It is. It's very catchy. It's very fun. It's very like,
and there's a lot of subtext in it. You know, it's on its surface. It's a song that you're going to hear at someone's like homecoming dance or something like that, where like the mosh pit is going crazy for it. And it sounds like, you know, it could be kind of like basic, you know, like a throwaway Post Malone track where it's like, they're talking about how cool they are and stuff like that. But then if you listen to it, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, this is one of the songs that like, I know at the beginning I said oh, all these songs are just about, or just Joji talking about heartbreak and how he can't find love. But like, I feel like this is the exception. This song is about not that.
Yeah, it's like, at least what I read into it is like that saying where it's like beauty is pain or pain is beauty, and the song is called Pretty Boy, and if you just listen to it, it's got lyrics that kind of are describing that. I'm pulling up the lyrics. I think in one of the verses, I'm a pretty boy living on the west side, popping blue pills and slipping on finest. No more tears and no more lies. I tell myself to sleep at night. Like, that's sad.
Yeah.
And when I listened to that verse as I was listening to it, I finally got it, because this was one of the songs that he released half of.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He put out like some teaser tracks on his, like, not the 88 Rising YouTube, but like
his YouTube
own thing, right?
And the description was not song, so I thought it was a joke. And when it came out on the album, I was like, "Oh, really?" But then when I got to that verse, I was like, "Oh, this is actually, you have to think about this song."
Yeah.
And then I saw there was a feature on it, and I was like, okay, I don't know if that's gonna benefit.
And it was Lil Yachty. So I got nervous when I saw Lil Yachty, because Lil Yachty is like the bane of my existence. But I was shocked to find that he did a pretty good job.
He did a pretty good job, at least compared to the other features on it. This is the best other performance.
Whoa.
No, I stand by that.
Okay. I mean, I'm not like disagreeing with you. I'm just
I think
disagreeing with
you. In the context of this song and what it's talking about, even if his verse is a little more basic than what Joji is singing about, I think that also adds like contrast to it. Like his verse is like, handsome young man, never worried about time, flexing on the net, it's the same offline. If I don't lead, where will they go? They follow my every move. Like, that's more basic, like rap. Like, I brought up Post Malone, like that sounds like something he would say off of Circles or something like that. And then Joji goes back into it and he says, like, you're talking about tears in his eyes, and it's a whole new, it's a different meaning to that song, and I think it does benefit that song. Whereas you mentioned the Omar Apollo feature on High Hopes, which doesn't do anything to benefit. But yeah, that's just my opinion. What do you think the best feature is then?
We'll get to it.
Okay. All right, cool.
But I think if someone, I'm not gonna like argue that Lil Yachty's the best feature on the album. Okay, I can totally see it. For me, he's definitely the most surprising feature. Not only for him being here, but also,
I think that was maybe part of it too. I was not expecting him to pull through.
Yeah, because Lil Yachty for me is like notorious for being absolute trash. So for him to like do something that like I actually enjoyed his verse, and I think this is maybe one of his best performances on any song. So yeah,
thanks, Joji.
Yeah. Let's give it up for Lil Yachty. Yeah. Do you want to move on to Normal People now?
I guess we're going to. This was another song. This one features Ray Brown. And I don't have strong feelings about it. Okay. It's one of the most forgettable songs.
So I can see where you're coming from, and I will say that this album, or not the album, this song is very repetitive, and in any other context, I feel like it would be forgettable, but I actually enjoyed this song. I don't know. I kept coming back to it for some reason. I don't even know why. It's not even like that great of a song or anything. But I think it was like those like 808s. They caught me off guard. Like that bass.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just wanted to keep getting caught off guard by it. I don't know. And Ray Brown, I've never heard of him before, honestly.
He did another song with Joji, didn't he? This was like his second collab.
Did he? I've never heard of it. If he did, maybe he did. I don't know.
I don't think it was Joji's. I think he was on Once in a While. That's what it's called.
Okay. I'll look it up. I've never heard of it. But he didn't do bad, honestly. He didn't like. I don't know if he added like too much to the song, but like he didn't take away. I don't think he did a bad job or anything. But this song, it needs to be cut down. It's a song that feels like filler, even though I didn't mind it.
Mm-hmm.
It
this
definitely
one has 2 producers on it, and one of them is Joji versus some of the others that definitely sound a lot more polished and a lot more big. Which again, not every song needs to be "Give Me Love," but it's nice when you have a song that's "Give Me Love."
And also the song is just very repetitive, like lyrically anyway.
Yeah, the chorus is as long as the verses.
Yeah, I feel like the song would have been better if it was just cut down by like maybe to like a minute and a half.
Yeah,
similar to another song on this album that we'll get to later.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over with the first half, but
you're right. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, "Upgrade" is a song that I enjoyed.
Me too.
And that's only like a minute and a half,
20, right?
Something like that. Yeah, and what they did in that minute and a half was good. It wasn't trying to be anything more than it was, which is why it's only a minute and a half. But I think with the repetition of that chorus, that's also as long as the verses, it's just kind of a letdown. But again, I don't think it's bad. I just don't have any real strong opinions on it.
Yeah, I don't even think it's that great of a song. I just kept coming back to it for some reason. But anyway, let's move on to Afterthought with Bene, something like that. I'm familiar with her. I just don't know how to say her name. I think it's Bene, right?
I don't know.
Okay. So, we said, or you were talking about how you thought that Lil Yachty was the best feature. I thought she was the best feature, honestly. Yeah,
this is a runner-up for me.
Yeah. I really liked this song.
Yeah, it's complex. It's her feature. This song is about the after. I mean, it's called Afterthought. It's a song about post breakup, and it's from 2 different perspectives, and I think that's really interesting, and I think that's part of what makes this one of the more memorable songs, at least for me, because with a lot of some of the other songs, it's just Joji's perspective, and even I'm not saying every time there's a song about a breakup he needs to have a counterpart talking about their opinion. It's just it gives it a nice fresh take.
Yeah.
It feels more like a duet than a feature.
Yeah. I think that's what he was going for, because it's not like featuring Bene. It's like Joji and Bene. At least that's how it's listed on Apple Music.
Yeah, like Daylight is Joji, Diplo, not Daylight featuring Diplo.
Yeah. This song reminded me, do you remember that like song Somebody That I Used to Know?
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of that a lot. It's like a more modern take on that. And I don't know, I really like that song. So this song was one of the highlights for me anyway.
The next song, though, was one of my personal favorites.
Okay.
Mr. Hollywood.
Produced by Kenny Beats, correct?
That is correct. Yes. This one features one of his best vocal performances on the second half. And it's at least it's memorable. But it's also it's lyrically it's another fresh take where, you know, it's a sort of a disaffected love song, but he's one of the lines is, "You don't gotta say you're not into me no more. When we pass out on the floor, see the sunrise through the door." He's not lamenting necessarily. He's just like he's coming to terms with something not being right, and that's kind of an interesting take for Joji, just because he has songs that are called, you know, "Can't Get Over You," and the shouting on "Slow Dancing in the Dark" when he's pleading about a breakup. I think it's really refreshing, and the instrumental on this is really good, and it sounds very polished, but not in a way that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. I know you said this was one of the highlights for you. Honestly, I can appreciate that it's a good song, and I know a lot of people really love this song, but I don't have any strong opinions on it. And like, for me anyway, I don't know. I appreciate it. It's a good songer. But I don't know. It just wasn't doing a whole lot for me personally. Although I see where everyone else is coming from on it. The instrumental is really good.
It's very shiny.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it. I think you kind of covered it.
Do you have any opinions on 777, which is the next song? Because I don't really.
I don't really have an opinion on it. I thought it was okay. I mean, it's another like 80s throwback song, which we've been getting a lot of. It's just like Blinding Lights, but Joji. And I don't know. I thought the little like synth arpeggio thing, the da 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 da. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was really catchy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these last few songs are pretty 80s inspired sounding. You know, there's one called Reanimator, which is an 80s horror movie that came out. I'm sure it's not any real relation. Like, once you look at the lyrics, it's not about Frankenstein or anything like that. But it's got that. There aren't any vocals for the first bit of it, and it's like this kind of crunchy, dark instrumental that I thought was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, but then
it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, like if that was it, that would be cool. Like, but
we need more of not intro. We need more song stuff.
Or even if that was just it, even if it was like that 30 seconds of noise, like just the fact that there are, you know, there's only, I think there's only one full verse, and then there's a chorus, which, you know, just seems on the weaker side for, especially since there's so much production in the first bit that the rest of it feels underwhelming. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. I think I'm holding my opinions in for like these last two songs, because I think these ones are really good.
Yeah. So for Reanimator, like you said, like there isn't really much here. I wish there was more here, because what's here is really cool sounding. But I like it's Yves Tumor, right? Is that how you say it? Do you know?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. I really like his music. I checked it out after. I know he's pretty big in like the electronic scene, I'm pretty sure. But and this sounds like one of his songs, but like, I don't know. There's just not enough here. And I think another big problem with this song is, I think like Yves Tumor does like vocals on it at the end.
He does. He doesn't.
Yeah. And they're mixed not well. They're way too quiet. I don't know. Maybe that's like was on purpose, but like I don't know. I just wish
to be labeled on the song. I think it's doesn't do enough production wise. But I mean, if he's doing all this instrumentation, I think that's also beneficial.
Sure.
But yeah. Next song, Like You Do. Everyone went crazy about this one. Which, I mean, I liked it. I think it's compared to some of the other things on this album, it's very stripped down. It's like a piano ballad. And it's beautiful. It's done well. It's got nice production. I will say though, I can't remember. I have the lyrics pulled up here. I can't remember any of them. And I've listened to this album quite a few times. I still don't know any of the lyrics.
Yeah. I remember the basic melody, but I don't remember them either. Like I remember the chorus a little bit, but like anything else, not really.
Yeah, it's just some of it's kind of basic, and
yeah, I mean it's a worst sounding track.
Especially on something that you can tell, like, it's a good song, at least compared to the other ones that we've been mentioning that we don't really enjoy, but it's fairly general. It's not, I think this could have been really anyone. It didn't have to be a Joji song. I'm glad it is a Joji song, but it's with it being so stripped down to the point where it sort of loses that element that really makes it Joji, and it just becomes sort of like a pop song, like a I'm trying to think of other examples, but I'm not really thinking of any. Just it's a letdown just because of how good it is, but it's missing something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. This song's like 4.5 minutes or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a long song, which is, I mean, it's got the most lyrical diversity on the second half.
Sure.
Other than I think maybe Pretty Boy, it's got like the most lyrical substance to it. But
I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm saying like if for a song that's so stripped back and just doesn't have like a lot, I guess. I feel like they needed, like, I guess like you were saying, there needs to be more here. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, there just needs to be more here.
There's an element that's missing.
Yeah.
But we don't know what it is because it's not there.
Yeah. That's, yep.
But
that's, yeah.
I mean, I have song credits pulled up. It was written there's 8 people listed as writers, 3 people listed as producers. Joji is 4th on the writer's credits, and he's not a producer on the song.
No.
So it's not. It doesn't feel very like a Joji song.
It's not personal, and I think
that's what it is.
Listing how many writers that are on this song and how far down Joji is on that list. I think that just kind of drives it home that this could have been done by anyone. It's not personal enough.
Yeah. Whereas, Run wasn't written by Joji, but at least what he brings to the table is like emotionally and vocally and stuff like that. Like that is a Joji song. This is not quite that.
Yeah.
That might be a hot take. People might get mad at us for saying that.
This is probably true because I know a lot of people are really digging this song.
Yeah, this is, if you go on to Genius, which I went on, I think yesterday, just to see sort of what other people were thinking about this song. That one has like, I think 4 times the amount of clicks as a lot of the other songs on here. Not as many as like Sanctuary and the other singles, but a decent amount.
Yeah, for a song that is not a single and is like on this, it's
which is pretty good. Actually, that's not bad. But
anyway, I think we should move on.
Yeah,
because we still have a lot to cover, and I feel like we've been talking for a while.
We do. You're gonna have fun editing this part.
I know, right?
But yeah, Your Man is the last song, and I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I see what he's going for. There's definitely like a lot going on here production wise. It sounds like a throwback dance track to me. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that about it, but it's not something that it feels like a really good conclusion of the album that kind of like wraps everything up.
Yeah, I'm glad that they ended with this one because it is so energetic. Like, especially since we talked about some of these later songs kind of lacking in that energy. The fact that they end with what I would say is the most upbeat song on this album, it's a good choice, I think. And having that as the last album definitely benefits it, because it definitely could have been a throwaway, but I think its placement does help. And it's
I think that this isn't really a song that I'm coming back to like on its own a lot, at least for me.
I mean, I can get that.
But like it's really good in the context of the album. So but I'm sure you do you have like more opinions on it? I'm sure you do more than I do because you said that you really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I think I've come back to it once or twice. I think it's got that energy. It's got a vibe to it that is distinct and is good for a certain type of mood, unlike some of these other songs. But I will say, in comparison,
like normal people, like where am I going to play Normal People? Or High Hopes?
But in comparison with the Ascension, since we're talking about these in the same episode, there are some high points and there are some low points. But the thing is, and not the issue, the good thing about Nectar is those high points are so high. Like, this song is an uplifting song. Like, it's simple, but it's so lavish and stuff, like, in a good way.
It's something that this album needed to really balance out the other stuff on this.
Yeah, it's not depressing. It's not depressing. And that, I'm a fan of songs that don't make me sad. There's some songs that I like that make me sad, but I try not to go to those too often because they make me sad.
Sure.
This one I've gone back to. I like it. I think it could have. I'm glad it wasn't a single, but I think it could have been.
Yeah. Maybe like a
one of those not songs.
Or maybe like a single released with another single, like maybe it releases with
B-side,
or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that would work for that.
Yeah. But no, I liked it. I think it was a fitting conclusion to the album.
For sure.
Yeah, it hits this album, I will say, it hits all of the emotions. Some of the songs don't hit emotions, but those emotions have been hit at some point. Yeah. Whereas the Ascension is confusing. That's It's
Well,
not. Yeah.
yeah.
That's the extent that I'm gonna be comparing these two, because these are very different albums.
For sure. Sonically and thematically, these are very different. But do we want to circle back to the beginning here?
Yeah, I think we've been talking for a while, so we might as well just run through these fairly quickly.
Yes, for sure. I know you don't have a whole lot of time left here.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this terrible for you to edit. So,
Okay.
because I have a lot of opinions about lots of things, and I sometimes ramble. So, my apologies. This is going to be.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and get started, and I can just add on.
Okay, cool. So, circling back here, we got track 1, You. This is a really good opener, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the bookends of this album, like the beginning and the end, fit really well. I think.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great opener. It really sets the tone for the album, at least for the first leg of the album, at least. I think it's worth mentioning the strings section at the end of this, because it's really good. At least.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. The strings just kind of string sections in songs just kind of win me over. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a good intro. I like a good string section too.
Yeah. Even though I feel like this is more developed as a song, maybe lyrically, at least similarly to Your Man, I don't find myself coming back to this song as an actual or just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. Is there anything?
It fits so well in its context.
Yeah, there are songs in here that fit really well in the context, but I don't really come back to them on their own. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else to add on the You?
No, I think you hit all the boxes. Yeah, I will say, just to reiterate, this is the best way he could have opened it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think they had that in mind, obviously, when they were making it. But
yeah. And then okay, so moving on to track 2 with Modus. Similarly to You, this is another one that I don't really find myself coming back to. I don't really have any strong opinions on this one. I know that a lot of people are saying that this is a highlight on the album for them. Not really for me though.
I didn't know what to expect going into it, just because You was such a big opener. I was like, is the rest of the album gonna be like this? And then it kind of, this one has a few synth layers on it, and a few reversed chime sound effects, and it has that for a bit, and then it slips into a more lo-fi trap beat, which they're pretty good. And for what it's worth, I think I definitely don't come back to this one on its own. I think I would say it's one probably my least favorite of the first half. We say the first half,
we're talking up to Sanctuary, probably, right?
Yeah, I would say this one is my least favorite, but it's still pretty good. I'm not skipping it. But. Yeah,
no, I don't think it's a bad track. It's not something that I'm really coming back to a whole lot on its own.
Yeah.
Moving on to TikTok, unless you have any other opinions.
No, I think going into TikTok, not the app. This is tick like a clock. But I'm surprised that Modus was my least favorite track on the first half, because when TikTok starts, I thought I was going to hate it.
It's not a very attractive intro on that track.
And then it goes into this, I don't even know. It's it's such a generic da 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 da, and he's talking in like these super low processed vocals that sound like so cheesy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And I thought that was really going to bring the track down, but then it cuts out and he starts singing the chorus, and it all changes. Like, it's the same thing with Pretty Boy. Like, I thought I was really going to not like that song, and then I like that song. I will say it's probably my second least favorite, only because I rank the other ones above it. But I found myself being very surprised with how much I actually did like this song.
Yeah.
Even though it does kind of have that like generic trap feel to it, I think the way that Joji makes it works.
Yeah. I think it's like one of those songs that it's like but like it's so catchy to me anyway. It's very catchy. Like upon first listen, I was like, I'm not really feeling this one. But I was like humming it to myself all day.
Yeah.
When it first came out.
Yeah, I had it's a weird roller coaster where it goes from, oh, this is going to be bad, to, oh, this is really good, to, oh, this is kind of generic verse, and then back to the chorus. And I was like, just tell me how to feel about this song.
Yeah, no, I have a love-hate relationship with it, and it sounds like you do too.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings, but I like the good parts more than I like the good parts in Modus.
Oh yeah, for sure. This one is more memorable than Modus for me. Yeah. Which I don't know why it is, but it is.
Yeah, I think it's because it's so weird in that way that it's memorable.
Yeah. So moving on to Daylight with Diplo. This is the first single that we are covering from this thing.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one?
I think first of all, this is more about the album in the whole. Mm-hmm. It really shows how much more we like this one than we like the Ascension, because we're going through each song individually. But yeah, I mean, this is the first episode, so this is kind of a trial run, so we can see which method we like more too, or this might just be how we go through these different kind of albums. But anyway, Daylight is the most poppy song on this.
Oh, for sure. I think Diplo really is doing that. I think that's all Diplo. I
think so too. But that's not, I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, because it's a good song. It's really catchy. Mm-hmm. And I think his voice is a really good compliment to the very shiny and polished instrumentation. And I will say, if Diplo's singing, I can't hear his vocals, or I don't know when he's singing. I don't think he sings on this. I think he's just doing production on it. That makes more sense. But yeah, I think he did a good job with that. I think Joji did a good job singing on it. And especially I will say the flow from TikTok to Daylight is really good. And especially after the weirdness that was the previous song, I was like, okay, this one was very refreshing, I feel like. Yeah. After TikTok. And then, yeah, go ahead. No, that was you said I was gonna say. So okay, cool. So when this track first came out as like a single, I didn't like it. Like, it was definitely a pretty weak song to me. Like, I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it sounded kind of generic. But like, as I kept listening to it, and as I was listening to it in the context of the album, the more I actually really liked it. Joji has some really strong vocal performances on it, especially with the chorus.
And yeah. And I'm not like a huge Diplo fan or anything, but he does pretty good on the production. I really like those like synthetic kind of strings in the background that play during the chorus, I think. I don't know if you caught that, but I just thought they sounded really nice.
Yeah, it was really. I think the production on this one is definitely the highlight. I mean, his vocal performance is really good, but it's the instrumentation that's really does it for me.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of like super poppy instrumentation.
Yeah,
but
that's what like threw me off like originally, but then it started to grow on me, and I started to actually appreciate it for what it was, and I really dug it.
Yeah, I got it on the first time around, just because at a certain point you gotta wonder like if you're just suffering from Stockholm syndrome, if you just like a song because you've listened to it a whole bunch. But with this one, I liked it on the first go around, which I think was unexpected for me. But you know, it's a good song. I wouldn't say it might be, it's not the strongest of the singles, but it's one of the strongest ones on this first half.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Now let's cover Upgrade pretty quickly here.
It is a pretty quick song. I think it's the shortest one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is also. This one was there's not a whole lot to it, but it was really sweet, I thought. I actually really liked it.
It's kind of like it feels like a song that they would play in the background of like almost like a noir movie where someone's like in a hotel and they're going up the elevator and you hear this playing. I don't know why my brain went there, but that's where my brain went. Like it's really soft. And
this song reminds me, I don't know if this is what he was going for, but it reminds me of some of his older stuff, like not even like pre In Tongue stuff, like some of his SoundCloud stuff. And I think I wonder if that's like what he was going for with the title, because it sounds like that, but with like better. It sounds like a more high quality version of that. So I was wondering if that's what he was kind of going for with the title Upgrade. Maybe that's dumb, but
I never listened to any of his SoundCloud stuff because I've never had SoundCloud. But yeah, I should probably maybe do that. But
yeah, there's not a lot of it. It's actually pretty decent stuff. But anyway,
I thought you were gonna say it reminded me of his old stuff, you know, like Pink Guy, and I was like, no.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with like World Star Money. I think it was on In Tongues too.
I that one, that's what this sounds like.
Yeah, that song came out on SoundCloud first. That was like one of his first.
Oh, it did.
So that's kind of like what I was talking about a little bit. But yeah. Do you have anything else on this one?
Not really. I think especially since we're getting into these next three, I think we got to lump them as a whole, because it's a trilogy.
For sure.
So for those of you unaware, part of the marketing campaign for this album was a series of these three music videos for Sanctuary, Run, and Give Me Love, where they all featured Joji in space. So they all seemed connected somehow. I think there had to be some videos on YouTube explaining like a story behind it, but you can read into it really whatever you want, like with knowing that, and even not knowing that, like these songs do feel connected. I guess starting with Give Me Love.
Wow.
I mean, the title is Give Me Love, which was something that I thought might be leading to like a basic pop song. And when it, you know, the chorus is also a basic pop song chorus. But then when he starts singing, it's pretty good. It's and the instrumentation, I think, is the highlight on this one, especially like you said, once it gets to the end with the strings. And it cuts to almost like a different song halfway through, which the second half for me is the better half for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And without like reading too much into it, if people still want to listen to it on their own, it's almost like addressing the same topic but from two different perspectives in the same song, almost like Afterthought did, but it's both Joji. It's with that change in instrumentation. It's just like this quick shift in emotion that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's like they sound like if you play like the first half of Gimme Love and then the second half, they like separately you'd think that they'd be completely different songs, but like they go together so well. Like it's pretty impressive. It's very impressive, like how well these two parts go together. They because the instrumental of the first half it's very simple. It's just kind of drums. I mean, really.
Yeah. Or drum machine even.
Yeah. And then the second half is just this gorgeous, like there's like piano in the background. I think there's like guitar or something. Or
there's a ukulele.
Oh yeah. And then these gorgeous strings. I mean, yeah. Just listen to it. Just listen to "Gimme Love." I mean, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Speaking of guitar, so I started teaching myself guitar when quarantine started. For context, and I am a huge fan of George Harrison. He's my favorite Beatle. So Run was the first song I learned on guitar that I taught myself.
Really?
Yeah. Which, I don't know. It's so different even from "Give Me Love." Like,
yeah,
it's
so different from anything Joji has ever put out.
Yeah, and I think this is his best song to date.
It probably is, honestly.
Just because it's his best vocal performance. Mm-hmm. Like, all the way through, it's almost like he's like crying while he's singing, and just the difference in instruments, like. There is some drum machine on it, but it also, that's an authentic guitar. I think there's actual drums on it. There at least was when he did it on Jimmy Fallon, which was his TV debut performing as Joji. And the layered vocals are great. The lyrics are heartfelt. His singing, I said before, is really good. And just that guitar solo at the end puts it all together, and it feels like I don't even know what it sounds like. It's a really good song. And
yeah, I mean, that's you heard it here. I mean, I don't really have much else to add on that. I basically entirely agree. Again, it's really hard to put into words.
Just because it's so different. Like, it's not like it's the best song ever. Like, I know describing that, where I'm like, I can't put it into words. It's not the best song ever. It's just, it's so different that there's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah. Because there's so many things coming in at once on that track.
Yeah. I won't take up all of the talking on Sanctuary, I promise.
So Sanctuary, you said that this was like one of your first Joji songs that you listened to, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, I discovered him like when this one came out. So this was just the most recent thing that had come out.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. I like this song.
Yeah. For me, I know I wouldn't have said this before this album came out, but like after having listened to this song a lot in the context of this album. For me, anyway, this is maybe my least favorite single, which is shocking. It's a great song, but I still this is. I don't know if this is Joji's most poppy song, especially after Daylight. I think this is the most Joji pop song. Well, that's probably a stupid way of putting it, but like, if Joji were to make a pop song, this is what I would.
Pop song without Diplo's help. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he were to make a pop song on his own, which I guess this is kind of, sort of that. I don't know how many producers he has on this. But yeah.
Only one producer.
Oh, really? Is it him?
No, but he's listed second in the writing credits. So
yeah, if I guess what I'm trying to say, if Joji were to make a pop song, which I guess he did, using elements of his old sound, I mean, this is what it would be, and I guess that's kind of what it is. I'm having trouble putting it into words. Yeah.
So overall, if people want to listen to this album and they haven't already, what would you say to do? Personally, I think it's kind of this. I like it better than I like the Ascension, but I think they're both. You have to listen to them in their entirety to get the full experience. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I personally agree with that. I feel like, in general, even though the Ascension's only like 20 minutes longer, I had a better experience listening to this one than I did the Ascension, but maybe that's just because it was less of a slog for me. Yeah.
I will say, as much as we did say we didn't like some of these songs, there are some albums, like all of the Beatles albums, where like you listen to them in its entirety because it's a good album, but then you can also play each song individually and have it do something. With a lot of these songs on both of these records, they complement each other for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And they're both albums. Nectar is more for casual listening, sure. But yeah, they're both definitely checking out in their entirety if you have the time.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We hope that you tune into the next episode, and bye.
Bye-bye.